Welcome to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Raw has just gone off the air not a few short hours ago. We are just a few weeks away from Bad Blood. And this week, Raw started with one of the best mic works in the business with CM Punk. And the promo he cut is a reason why you book Punk in a spot like this. Few can make, or few people care like he can, or few can paint people care like he can. Sorry, and this was another example of it. Punk gets the mic, and he was saying that talking about how many matches he's got left in his career, and he said for good or bad, it's more than what people think. And Drew was hospitalized him a couple of weeks ago, and that he's not going to promise to kill Drew McIntyre because he doesn't make promises that he can't keep. But he's promised to make McIntyre bleed, and he's gonna have McIntyre is gonna have to kill Punk basically to win the match, to win the Hell in the Cell match at Bad Blood in a couple of weeks' time. And even Punk went as far as saying, if this is, I've had a great career, and if this is the end, so be it. So Punk is willing to sacrifice his career in order to beat Drew McIntyre on this. And then also it said, if you're prepared for this to be the end of Drew McIntyre, then I will see you in hell, which was the end, which was basically one of the lines that he was coming off right near the end of the promo, which really shows you again just how good CM Punk actually is at delivering those promos. He's got that, talking about selling pay-per-views and a way in which to, get that pay-per-view over, get his match over like he didn't really need it to be, but he'd done it in such a great way that, what we've come accustomed to CM Punk, but man, he can deliver an epic promo. And I'm really looking forward to that match with McIntyre at Bad Blood. It will be the feud ender for sure on this occasion. And it's just going to looks like there's going to be blood in it as well, which is something that we're not really accustomed to on WWE television recently, albeit Cody did bleed last week on SmackDown and probably at WrestleMania, I think the last time with The Rock just before WrestleMania. So I'm going to see a bit more, and it makes sense. I don't mind there not being blood week in, week out on WWE, but I like blood when there's a reason for having blood. So, the Hell in the Cell is a prime example of where blood will be absolutely fine on wrestling because there is a need for it. It also is, that feud itself is a perfect example of why you do need blood sometimes in wrestling. There is opportunity there and it makes logical sense. Just bleeding for the sake of you're in a match and someone's hit you with something, that doesn't always ascertain the right reasons for bleeding. Bleeding in WWE or bleeding in wrestling should have a motive behind it, a meaning behind it. And that's where it absolutely works for McIntyre and Punk. And that's why it worked for Cody and The Rock back at WrestleMania, before WrestleMania. So perfectly good reason for bleeding would be Punk at Bad Blood. I think they both will. But a brilliantly well delivered promo from CM Punk that really just takes you to that next stage of that feud of him, McIntyre. And I'm looking forward to their match in just a few short weeks' time. Now, another match that's been bubbling on the surface recently is Sheamus and Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne looked way back now, turned on Sheamus. If you remember, they were the Brawling Brutes. Come back on Raw. There was a big where Pete Dunne walked out on him. They attacked him, and now there's getting into a match now finally. And this was a bit of a brawl to start Raw, and a lot of the excuse me matches on Raw. The male matches on Raw was a real brawl, and a lot of stuff really happened. And this match was it was still absolute banger of a match between the two. There was a bit where Dunn goes to get the shillelagh. Sheamus hits the pump kick, and then Dunn attacks Sheamus with the cricket bat, and then hit the bro kick on Sheamus to pick up the victory. So Pete Dunne basically using Sheamus's finisher to pick up the victory on Sheamus, I was quite surprised that Pete got the win actually on this. Not because he's not talented. I just thought Sheamus was overdue a win, but likely this means that the feud's going to continue. Maybe they will have what we've seen before on SmackDown as the good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. Maybe that's going to be a match that they're going to have in the future on Raw between the two. Pete Dunne picking up the victory was a bit of a surprise, but a welcome surprise as well. Has he really hit the heights of where he could get to in the WWE? Probably not. We know how good he is, NXT UK champion until Gunther come along, and you can see what he can do, and he's never really got to that stage in the WWE anyway. At least for now. I mean, there's an opportunity for him to perhaps do some more things here on Raw, but yeah, not always Pete Dunne has managed to get to that level. So hopefully right now this will be the start, but I don't think it's finished with Sheamus just yet. Now at the back at this point, we go to Jey Uso and the Terror Twins, Rhea and Damian, and he's basically saying that he's got Damian's back during the main event match between him and Dominic Mysterio. And then surprisingly, Xavier Woods comes in and joins the conversation. Now, the New Day have their tag team championship opportunity tonight on Raw. Yes, the tag championships are being defended tonight on Raw. It's a miracle. It does happen. And we get to see it. And Xavier Woods just comes in and basically says to the Terror Twins, do not get involved in our tag match later on tonight. And Priest says, that's fine, we won't, but to whoop the Judgment Day's ass and take their titles. We'll see if they do. And then another spot backstage was Braun Strowman talking to The Miz. Now, obviously, The Miz, Braun both had their problems with Bronson Reed. And The Miz, but basically, Braun Strowman was going to say he's not 100% tonight, but he's not going to make any excuses. And The Miz sort of wishes him well. And then asked basically Braun what he meant last week by when he says that Miz was no match for Bronson Reed. And basically, Braun was saying he wasn't trying to be disrespectful with that comment. Miz talks about his resume, former world champion, all that. And Braun says that sometimes takes a monster to put down a monster. And the Miz knows that he's not a monster. Element of truth to that, to be quite honest with you. Miz isn't a monster. He's not the height or weight of a Braun Strowman or a Bronson Reed, but Miz is a calculated wrestler. And he can get the job done against the most surprising of people. So don't ever rule out the Miz in a match. He is very, very knowledgeable when he's in that ring, and he can do damage in different ways. He doesn't have to have a world strongest slam, or he doesn't have to weigh 300 pounds. He's got the knowledge and the experience to get jobs done in matches. When people perhaps don't believe in it, he goes on and does it. So Miz is very, very good. So he doesn't need to be a monster. But Braun is right, and sometimes it says to be a monster, you got to put down a monster. I get that. I understand. Finally, on to the second match of the evening. I do feel this Raw this week, just as a general overall, was a little bit too many backstage segments. You don't need to have so many. There was a lot of in ring as well. There just wasn't, for me, there wasn't enough matches, so to speak. Not in my opinion. I mean, guys, you can have your own opinions on that. You're welcome to it, but I'm just not a fan of too many backstage. I just felt that there was too much talking, which has always been a problem on 3-hour Raws, and likely soon we're going to be moving back to 2-hour Raw. So those backstage segments will have to be condensed or written off, which is going to be interesting. And I believe it's in a couple of weeks' time when Raw goes 2 hours that we'll see then, hopefully see a bit more action. A little less conversation, a little more action, please, as a well-respected artist said once. Speaking of action, it moves to the second match on the show. Zoe Stark and Natalya. Natalya returned last week to help Selena Vega and Lyra Valkyria in their match against Pure Fusion Collective. Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, and Sonya Deville. I will get the names right without hesitating. 1 week for sure. Look, good match. Natty is Natty. She will always give you 100% in there. We know how good of a worker Nat is. I do like Zoe. I think that there's more to Zoe than what we're seeing. I really do. I'm a big fan of Zoe Stark. I just feel that, yeah, and I'm actually a fan of Pure Fusion Collective, to be quite frank with you, but I'd like to see more of Zoe in the ring. I know what Shayna can do, know what Sonya can do to a degree, maybe a bit more Sonya as well. But Zoe, I really like Zoe. I think there's something about her there, and a lot of people see it, but I do, and I do see something in there, and I'd like to see a bit more Zoe. On this occasion, though, the schoolgirl roll up from Natty picks up the victory. We're talking about the Miz using his mind to win matches, and Natty used her experience in this one, and to get the job done. And that was really good actually, because they were having a quite a good little back and forth match. To be fair, Zoe Stark was impressive in this as well. But Natty using an old-fashioned schoolgirl to pick up the victory, which was really good. I mean, Stark used the O'Connor role in this as well, just as a bit more of a give you a bit more an idea of the match. But Natty herself, mindful, picks up the victory using the schoolgirl roll-up, which I loved. Yet another interview at this point, Kathy Kelly and Rhea. Well, that's a story we'd all love to see, I'm sure. Um, but this time, Finn Balor got involved in the interview basically and said that, he's wanted to catch up with Rhea for a long time. And that he feels Rhea's just as bad as Damian Priest. But she countered with that and she said the Judgment Day was a family, but in reality, oh, sorry, he said the Judgment Day was a family, but in reality, all she cared about was herself, and he was tired of Rhea blaming him for everything that's gone on with the Judgment Day. And he also said that that's why that he wasn't WWE champion as well. So he goes on a little bit on here, but Rhea then said that she loved her family, and if Finn wants to make the Terror Twins the bad guys in the fictional story, then go be it, and so be it. And it's bad blood, the Judgment Day. We'll see how bad the Terror Twins really are. And Finn then said that he was the one that convinced Dom to go with Liv Morgan and stab Rhea Ripley in the back. So we're now getting a bit of a backstory here to say, well, that was Finn's call. Finn was the one getting in Dom's head. Now, if you go back, this makes a load of sense because if you go way, way back to when the Liv stuff first started and she left that hotel key on the table in the Judgment Day clubhouse. Remember, it was Finn Balor that took that hotel key. So obviously the plan was then he went to the hotel with Rhea to Liv and devised the plan for them to break away from the Judgment Day and to stab Rhea and Damian Priest in the back. So there's where they led to. So there you go. And there's sometimes where Rhea was in the locker room with Finn on their own. There you go. There's the plan. The seeds were planted, and Finn finally come out with saying it was him that made it all happen, basically. And there you go. There's where the WWE do well with storylines. There's where the WWE do good stuff because if you do remember where things start, when Finn says that, you can connect the dots together and you come up with exactly that. So there we go. It worked all along. But at that point, Jey Uso steps up and he says, have we got a problem here? And Finn was like, just focus on your upcoming match with Braun. And that he's out of Rhea's league. Rhea, and then he leaves, and Rhea appreciates Jey having her back. But that leads to yet another segment. This is my point on Raw this week. It's too many segments and not enough in ring action or storyline in ring action anyway. And this was just basically, a yeet versus a bark in a lot of senses, and that will be next week. So one of the things that have come out of this promo on Raw was the Intercontinental Championship match between Braun Breaker and Jey Uso will be next week on Raw, which leads me to believe of Judgment Day interference in this. I would imagine. The promo itself, it was a typical, it was a typical Jey Uso promo, a lot of yeeting, a lot of, Braun Breaker just delivering lines about how good that he is and family and he's going to expose Jey because Jey is nothing without the bloodline. which is interesting because obviously we know the bloodline SmackDown starting. Could it even be the bloodline that cost Jay next week? The new bloodline. They showed up on NXT. Could be some stuff going on here. Uh, Jey Uso responding, we know he's going to dog walk your ass next week. And he also said a line to Braun, which says that his Intercontinental title reign could be shorter than his NFL career, which, which was very, very short. At that point, Braun Breaker goes to punch Jay, but Jay hits him with a spear. A good segment. But again, segment after segment after segment does get a bit laborious in there for me. But I'm looking forward to the match this week. If there's one thing that Braun Breaker and Jey Uso will deliver, it will be a fantastic match. Even if I believe there's going to be interference in it, it will still be a really, really good match next week for the Intercontinental Championship. Judgment Day, New Day, World Tag Team Championship. Now, Judgment Day finally defending their gold. This was a really good tag match between the two, JD McDonough, Finn Balor, Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston. Really, really good match. I did like this. But again, as you know, interference in this. This was interference at one point. Woods hits a sit-out power bomb for a 2. Carlito, Liv Morgan, Dom Mysterio get involved. However, the LWO was also there to make the save for the New Day. However, the coup de grace and with all the fighting that was going on, there's been distractions in the ring. Finn Balor hits the coup de grace on Xavier Woods to get the victory. And at the end of the match, Woods starts yelling at Kofi. Now, the interesting thing is here that Woods didn't found out that Kofi Kingston went behind his back and asked the LWO to help out. Kofi knows the New Day doesn't need help. And then he dropped the line, Woods, that things have changed since Big E is no longer around. Now, are we going to get to a point where they split? Or is Big E not is going to come back, not necessarily in wrestling form, but perhaps he can come back and manage the New Day? Are they leading towards Big E coming back in that capacity? Because it would work. I think that would be great. I think the New Day split is too late, in my opinion. Now, to do it now, I don't think it helps either of their careers. Kofi's had a stellar career in the WWE anyway, to be quite frank with you, world champion, multiple time tag champion, Intercontinental champion. He's done it all, really. Xavier Woods is a great worker, but I just don't see the benefit now in splitting the New Day up. It's too late. And I don't think it wouldn't really benefit either of them, to be quite frank with you. It wouldn't benefit. You wouldn't necessarily go and see them get a world title run out of it, or even do something meaningful out of splitting up the New Day. It just wouldn't work now, unfortunately. But who knows where the WWE are going with this? I'm hoping what it could do, and this is a real side note, and I'll get onto the Wyatt Six in a minute because they didn't appear on Raw this week in active form. There was a QR code. We'll get into that. It could be leading to someone coming back in as well. We'll get to that. But could this be that Xavier Woods turns on maybe Kofi and Big E at that point? But then we know what the Wyatt Six are like when you turn on your family, right? Now, interestingly enough, could even that spell trouble for the bloodline? Could they do a Wyatt Six thing where obviously they turned on the bloodline turned on their family, Roman, Jay, Jimmy. Could it lead to, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking stuff. We like to do that on this channel. Bronson Reed done a promo before his match with Sheamus. Took out Rollins. He took out R-Truth. He took out The Miz. He did take out Braun Strowman. Then he got COVID. And they give me my opportunity for Braun Strowman. He's not going to cry about it. He gave them basically the Intercontinental title opportunity to Braun Strowman, for the Intercontinental Championship. He's not going to, into those triple threat matches. He's not going to cry about it. He's going to do something about it. And he's going to finish the job that he started. And he calls Braun Strowman the victim. Well, their match was next. And it goes back to these old, if you go back to the Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman feud. Remember I said to you about the "I'm not finished with you" thing a week or two ago, and when they used to go crazy on Raw and throw things around. This is it. They tried to ambush. Reed tries to ambush Strowman before the bell. The top rope actually explodes during this as well. Strowman choke slams Reed. He poses for the crowd. He drops him a boot. And then he plays to the crowd again. Reed throws a fan into Paul Strowman. And then he hits a running cross body block on the outside of the barricade. The referee calls the match off. They head to the backstage area. Strowman delivers a pounce over a production case. It is going absolutely crazy at this point. Strowman throws Reed into a wall. He does trip over a golf cart though, and he delivers Reed delivers a tsunami through the table. And then, as Reed is getting pumped up, Strowman spears him through the wall. For fuck's sake, it was going absolutely crazy at this point on Raw. That is the type of shit that I like with these two. You go back to the Reigns thing where I remember when Reigns was doing that run around the ring for the spear and Strowman threw a chair at him. I remember when he threw him off the thing when he was going into the ambulance. And that is the type of stuff that these two need to do. Just absolutely annihilate each other, which is fantastic. I absolutely loved it. More of that. I don't know where they can go with it, but I want more of it. I want that line. I'm not finished yet. I want him to say it as well. Um, But a great, it wasn't even a match, but the way for those two to really, kick on and do something even more better and really enhance. Again, Strowman's not been, up here since he come back, where he can be. Bronson's on the climb. Let them go at it in a crazy match. I don't know what you want to go, Falls Count anywhere, last man standing or something along those lines, and just let them destroy everything in sight if they want to. Yeah, really enjoyable. Like that a lot. Backstage again and getting ready for yet another segment. Adam Pearce was talking to Ludwig Kaiser, and he wanted to know about who Gunther's going to face for the championship. Gunther doesn't want to defend against Sami Zayn, and Ludwig says Sami Zayn's not an adequate opponent. But although Sami, according to Adam Pearce, is making a compelling case, and if Gunther has a problem with that, he can go to Pearce's office and talk for himself. Which led to yet another in-ring segment. Sami Zayn, Kaiser, and Gunther. Sami Zayn still wanting the championship match. Ludwig Kaiser really kind of, he was trying to sort of say, hang on a minute, kind of does he want the opportunity himself? He could well be. And Sammy was saying that, Ludwig he's finding it funny how Ludwig's out here talking for Gunther because Gunther doesn't need you to speak for him. And in fact, Gunther doesn't need you for anything. But he goes, you know what I think? I think you need Gunther, which was interesting. He was basically saying that Ludwig Kaiser needs Gunther more than Gunther needs Ludwig Kaiser. And there's an element of truth to that to a degree. Gunther doesn't need anyone. He's fairly capable of doing all this stuff himself. And he then says if Gunther's got the balls, come out and speak for himself. And funny enough, Gunther come out and said to Ludwig, if there's anything you need to tell me, you better do it right now. And Ludwig says, there is something I want to get off my chest for a very long time. And as he does that, he clotheslines Sami Zayn, transitions into a ground and pound, and then he plants Zayn with a twisting DDT. And then Gunther says, Sami, regarding your challenge for the heavyweight championship, the answer is and will always be no. And then Kaiser goes for another DDT, but Zayn counters with a release German suplex and has a haluva kick. There is part of it that's probably saying, is Gunther afraid because Sami's the one that beat for the Intercontinental Championship? There is potentially the way to look at it, and that's probably how you could get it into a match. I enjoyed the segment. It teased a little bit of Ludwig Kaiser going on his own, which was really, really good as well. I look forward to that. I'm going to look forward to the match. I just know that Gunther's going to win it. Sami Zayn isn't going to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Period. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. We go backstage to yet another interview. Damian Priest's time, Liv Morgan. interrupts and says, how sad a former heavyweight champion doesn't already realize he's a has-been. And if it wasn't for the judgment, and it wasn't hard for the Judgment Day to choose between the Terror Twins and Liv and Daddy Dom. Two lonely, pathetic, desperate losers clinging on to one who kept them on top. It's quite embarrassing. Damian can't believe that someone from the Judgment Day has actually set Liv to protect the World Championship. Because when Rhea gets her hands on her, it's not going to be pretty. Priest then tells Liv to go to Dominic and kiss goodbye because when Priest destroys him tonight, he's putting the scumbag boyfriend down. And then finally, we get to a match. Now, it is match number 5 of Raw. Bianca Belair versus Io Sky. Obviously, Damage Control want the title shot, the tag team title shot. The good match between these two, actually, really, really good. These two can go at it in the ring. Obviously, Bianca's got the strength and the speed. Io Sky's got the speed and the technical ability, so it works well for them two in there, and they work very well in there in terms of in-ring chemistry as well. This one ended up Bianca goes for the KOD. Sky lands on his feet and connects with a small package to pick up the victory in this match. Io Sky picks up the victory, which kind of makes sense because it then gives Damage Control, I suppose, the right in many ways to go for the women's tag team championships because she's pinned one of the champions. Maybe next week we'll see Jade Cargill against Kairi Sane, for argument's sake. We could do that. I'd look forward to seeing that one as well because that will be a power versus strength game. So a power versus speed, sorry, game. So I look forward to seeing how that would do in there as well. Backstage in yet another backstage interview promo. This was Ludwig Kaiser, and he says he finds it very hypothetical to question his loyalty, sorry, to Gunther, because it's the same person that Kevin Owens, his best friend, yet they continue. So the claim that Kevin Owens is his best friend, but yet they continue to stab each other in the back at every other opportunity when the other person is having more success. And he says that Sami's a bitter old man. The truth is that Sami's jealous of Kevin Owens because he's a former world champion, while Sami won't be a world champion. Makes good points. Makes good points there. And then we go once again to yet another backstage bit. Ilya Dragunov was wishing Jey Uso good luck in the title match with Braun Breaker. The Judgment Day, at this point, confront Dragunov. He should be wise as he chooses his friends, basically. And that Dragunov does respect the Terror Twins, and that's more he can say about any other member of the Judgment Day. And Finn says to basically Dragunov, this is your last warning about getting involved in the storyline. We then hype next week on Raw. McIntyre is going to respond to Punk. Sami Zayn will battle Kaiser. Perhaps that could be a one that turns into Sami Zayn getting the opportunity for the world title. And of course, the big Intercontinental Championship match between Braun Breaker and main event Jey Uso. Leads into the main event, Damian Priest against Dom Mysterio. We kind of know where this is going. Of course, there's interference in this. Of course, there is. This is a Judgment Day match. Carlito with a forearm smash. There's Priest Balor gets involved in this as well. It goes on a bit longer. Then there's a bit where Priest super kicks Carlito, Mysterio super kicks Priest, Mysterio drop kicks Priest into the middle rope. He delivers a 619. Priest avoids the frog splash. And then he connects with an inside out lariat, hits the south of heaven, chokes down to pick up the victory. Then the Judgment Day continue their attack on Priest. Rhea tugs on Mysterio's hair. Liv pulls Rhea off the apron and throws Ripley into the steps. Jey Uso comes out to try and even up the odds, but he gets speared by Braun Breaker. And basically, everyone finishes Priest as Raw goes off the air with Finn Balor hit 3 coup de grace on Damian Priest as Raw goes off the air. Now, I did mention, excuse me, about the Wyatt 6 now. A QR code appeared. Again, we're going back to QR codes, guys. And it directed to a message that read, when she speaks, mountains should tremble. It's waiting for her. I can only open the door. She must choose to walk through. And then an additional message read, the bond of a family is a cat of 9 tails. Bound through suffering, sorry. We'll see you, brother. When you need us, we will be there. Alexa, maybe? I don't know. Maybe it's up to you guys to choose that. But look, Raw was good. Raw was good, if not spectacular. I enjoyed the majority of Monday Night Raw. Uh, but nevertheless, look, it was just too heavy for me in there. I just thought that perhaps too many promo segments, too many backstage stuff, not enough. For me, look, there was 5, 6 matches at Raw, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it needed that many, to be quite frank with you. Enjoyed the Bronson, Braun Strowman stuff. Want more, and hopefully we'll get that next week. But look, Raw was in the books, another one done. We're going to be back later on tonight. Me and Fiona are sitting down tonight doing the NWA review, which will be out on Wednesday. Dynamite. Everything's coming your way. Some more interviews will be coming your way very soon as well. So don't miss out on those. Could be some big announcement on the way as well. My lips are sealed until I get a bit more information, but we could possibly be making a really big splash internationally. But we'll talk a bit more of that when I can. But guys, keep it locked on the channels. HTT Buckle on X and YouTube. Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.